What's happening? This is the Tap In podcast. We are live inside of the Tap In studio. I got a special guest with me. With everything going on, I needed somebody to come in here and help me with my mental state. You know what I mean? So y'all please welcome Helena. She's you are Helena. Now you are a therapist, right?
Yeah. I am. That's correct.
Oh, now explain exactly what a therapist is. Do they just come in and you just talk and tell your problems or what?
No. So my official title is a licensed professional counselor. So you got to go through, a master's program and get a master's degree type thing to be able to talk to people. However, a therapist focuses on the mental, the physiological symptoms of a person and the behavioral symptoms of a person.
Oh, okay.
So if someone comes into my office and they have a problem, I'm not just listening. I'm actually giving them coping skills and tools that will help them, perspectives and things like that. Really, we shy away from giving advice.
Really?
Yeah, it's really not our job.
So you guys are just to listen and give them some tools to handle those issues?
Yeah, so we try to get you to move through your own problem, but we give you perspectives as you move through the problem.
Okay. Yeah. And how long have you been practicing?
I've been practicing for 5 years. I am owner of Better You Counseling, LLC in Grapevine.
Okay, Better Youth?
Better You.
Oh, Better You.
Helping you become a better you.
Helping me.
Yes.
Okay, and it's in Grapevine.
It's in Grapevine.
Now, with everything going on, has your clientele expanded? Have you been getting more?
Oh, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, and I'll be very honest. When I first moved to the location that I was at, I had a predominantly white audience.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was working off Kimball in South Lake, and I moved 5 minutes, literally, over Northwest Highway to where I'm at now on my own practice. And since all of this has started, my clientele is probably 50-50 now.
Really?
Yeah.
See, yeah. And I know just from my history, a lot of people I know don't go seek therapy.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
You know what I mean? Like why do you think that is in the black community where we don't go seek therapy and get help? Because I feel like black people deal with a lot of stress on the daily. Especially when now everything's going on. Like I want to talk about race. I always been like want to point it out, but after so much, it becomes a lot. You know what I mean?
It's hard to manage.
Yeah.
I think for us, African Americans, being one myself, we are taught, just trust God. That whole perspective, like, black women are the strongest, so it's kind of like, just put it all on your back, carry it, and then when you break down, just get somebody else to help you carry it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus like, go ahead and get you some mental health. That's a thing nowadays. I will say millennials are more invested in millennial health than, previous generations.
Really?
Like, they are all about it. They wear T-shirts about it. Having a therapist is a conversation when you first meet someone. But in our community as a whole, we don't seek it out. And I really think, honestly, we can't afford it.
So it's not something that you can put on like your insurance or anything like that.
It is. However, I don't know if you are aware, depending on what area you live in, they do what's called insurance populations. Yeah. So like, for example, I work in the South Lake Grapevine area. 95% people have healthcare insurance. Now you take that to somewhere, maybe South Oak Cliff or somewhere. That's not going to be the same case.
Got you.
You see what I mean? So lower poverty areas are not going to have insurance particularly. And so I feel like that's a factor when you talk about African Americans wanting to get therapy. Now, I'm not saying that goes for everybody. Absolutely not. People out here grinding, getting it. They got insurance.
Right. And so I'll just, because I got a bunch of questions, right? As far as like you, right? Like at the end of the day, you still a human being.
Absolutely.
Right? How does a therapist handle everybody just dumping their problems on you? How do you handle that?
It's called vacations.
Oh, okay.
No, honestly, extreme self-care practices. When I first started out, I kid you not, when I first started out, I was taking everything home. I was stressed out. I was depressed myself. And then I remember my supervisor telling me, you got to learn how to compartmentalize. And so now what I do whenever I take a session in, I just don't take it back with me. Like your 50-minute session, boom, that's it. It's left there. And we'll pick back up on it next week. And I have to do that because I have to create a work-life balance for myself. My family shouldn't have to bear the burdens of the people that I help.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and lots of vacations. I have things that I look forward to, especially with COVID, not being able to take vacations. We're doing staycations. You know, we're looking at other avenues and ways to kind of break the monotony up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And because I know how do I not diagnose myself, but because I feel like I don't deal with emotional stuff either.
Yeah.
Either it is or it ain't, and if it ain't, then I don't worry about it. So how do I know if I need to seek some kind of mental health help? I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are classic signs like irritability. Easily agitated, things like that. If you're moping around the house, if you have signs of, loss of appetite, decreased sleeping patterns, increased anxiety, increased anxiousness, or, things like that will kind of lead you down a path of like, maybe you might need some mental health, especially depression. Depression is very prevalent. 1 in 3 people have depression in the U.S.
That is crazy.
And it goes undiagnosed, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, you could, it's 3 of us, like, somebody in here got depression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just being real, you know what I'm saying? So, like, it's a real thing, so you just got to kind of look at the patterns of people. And typically, somebody really close to you is somebody that can identify it. Because they can say, like, that's not normal. They don't really use those behaviors that I'm starting to see. They're always tired, They don't want to go anywhere. They self-isolate a lot. That's a really big one, self-isolating.
What about people who have mood swings?
Yeah.
What is that like form of depression? Because I know for me it's like sunlight makes me happy. Music affects my mood like crazy.
Yeah.
And then when me and my wife, when we were dating, when we first moved in together, I was always like, look, I gotta have bright, loud colors because that's
mood booster.
Yes, it affects my mood if I'm just in a dark room all the time. Yeah. And so we had this little discussion. I'm like, I just need to be around light. I need to be around as soon as I wake up in the morning, I like to open the blinds, get that sunlight in. Mm-hmm. Can that also help with your depression? Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of that plays into the endorphins in the body. It's
and explain endorphins because I just found out what endorphins is probably like 2 or 3 years ago. So explain, what are endorphins?
Endorphins is a hormone. So typically when people release endorphins, it can give you a feeling of euphoria, like a feeling of joy or things like that. People who are suicidal, that have suicidal ideation, they typically cut to release endorphins. It's almost like a high. It makes you feel better. So when you're opening up the blinds and you're seeing bright colors, that's also why like at children's hospitals, they have hallways painted with bright colors because it's a form of psychology. It makes you naturally feel better, like your warm colors, like your yellows, your oranges, colors like this is inviting. You have your warm colors, it's like your light blues and things like that, and then your grays and your blacks are kind of like your dark colors and they affect mood. Yeah. So that's why they have a direct correlation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how is the best way? Like if you know somebody that's dealing with something like this, what is the best way to kind of introduce either some kind of mental health therapy or something like that? Yeah. What's the best way?
I always tell people, approach it how you would want to be approached. When you talk to somebody, do you want them to come to you and be like, here's a therapist's contact information, I think you need it?
No.
Or do you want them to be like, man, you all right? Like, girl, what's going on? Like, make it a conversation. And then you could say, you know what? I know somebody that uses X, Y, and Z. And then see if they're open to that idea because you don't want to just throw that out there and then it's like a defense mechanism is kicked up real quick, especially black men. Yeah. First thing y'all want to say, I don't need no therapist, you need a therapist. Right. It's like, okay, well, all right, I'm done. You know what I mean?
I know for me, as a black man, talking to somebody about your problems, it make you seem weak. It make you seem like you ain't got everything under control. And that's a cultural
stigma that needs to be like completely done with.
Yeah.
It does. It really does. Our black men are suffering. And they suffering in silence.
Yeah.
You know? And there's so much trauma associated with that mentality.
Yeah. And I wonder, is it because I know, like for me, I feel like I'm at the age where my father right now can't teach me nothing new. He can't teach me anything. all the lessons that I needed to learn or needed to have, I've already passed that point. I've already learned them, got them from somewhere else. So now it's like I've got into the habit of just finding out for myself. So now I don't like going to nobody and talk to them. I don't like going to ask questions, you know what I mean, about certain things that I feel like I should already know. You know what I mean?
But who teaches the teacher? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you gotta. I mean, if your well is empty, who's pouring into you?
Yeah.
Because you don't know everything, so it's like, so what are your resources? You know, because I think that's the mentality, right? It's like, I'm a grown man. I don't need my dad no more. I'm a father.
Right.
I'm a husband.
Right.
Okay, that's great. But like, where are you getting your cup full at?
YouTube.
Man. Honestly, YouTube is a great resource. I'm not going to lie. It's an excellent resource. You know,
YouTube,
but you got your Reddit, your Google, and I say that because like, my boyfriend has that. He's really big on like knowledge and research. I mean, he has so many different topics that he's really strong in. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, I don't really care about that. Like, but I see the point because it's like you don't really have nobody that you're going to go seek. Now he has his dad. They chop it up. Yeah. But naturally, a black man is not out here just being like, man, can you teach me?
Right.
No, it's not a thing.
Yeah. It just feels weak. Even when you just said that. Hey man, can you teach me? That just sound like ugh, like
really.
Yeah, it did. It just made me kind of cringe. Like,
but why? Why does that make you cringe to ask for help? Have you been taught not to ask for help?
Not taught, but I think just experience that when you go to somebody for help, you at a disadvantage kind of. I feel like where it's like, oh yeah, now this person can tell me anything, and now I'm looking at them in like oh, they know better than I do.
But how do you learn if learning is a disadvantage?
See, I don't know. Like, I guess life is just experience.
Life is a great teacher, but I'm saying like if you got your Bill Gates of the world and they come and they say, I want to teach you, I want to put you up on game, and it's not Forex. And they say, and you say, nah man, I'm good, I'm all right. But they're multimillionaires.
So here's my thing. If somebody has what I want, then yes, I will go and just
learn from them.
Yeah, but I guess me going to say, hey, can you teach me? I'll be like, yo, how you do that? Yeah, I'll go in and start asking questions, and but I wouldn't go to somebody and be like, yo, teach me this. But I would definitely, if they have something that I want, I would definitely reach out to them like, yo, how did you do that? How did you get to do that? You know what I mean?
So if it's something you want to learn, you'll take the initiative.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, like, I don't, and that's the one thing that I feel like I'm not suffering from, but when I want to teach my son, right, I want to teach him that it's okay to be vulnerable, right? Because me growing up, I was taught that you got to be a man, you got to be tough, you got to be strong.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want my son to be no punk either.
Right. It's a balance.
So it's like I feel like sometimes I don't know where or how to go because I only know what I know, right? Correct. And I only know what he's going to get involved in later on as he gets older because he's 9 now. So I'm just like, what do I want to teach him? I want to teach him how to take care of himself, be able to defend himself, but at the same time, don't be no punk. Don't let nobody. Or no, excuse me. I want him to teach him like it's okay to cry. It's okay to be soft.
It's okay to have emotions.
Right.
Right. I think the biggest thing there is teaching him when to use those emotions. You know what I mean? Like you, as a parent, you're the best role model ever. You have to model the behaviors that you choose for your child to learn. Yeah. Right. And who better than their parent? Right, to model it. I think that's the problem with some fathers is that they try to put too much strength out in moments where it requires a little bit of nurturing. And so kids miss that emotion. And so they later on in life are trying to make up for that emotion using some terrible coping mechanism or something. And so you got to learn how to yourself exert those emotions at the point in times when they're given. Like you trying to teach him T-ball or something. He ain't getting it. He angry. He frustrated. You got to teach him how to channel that anger. Because if not, that ain't gonna manifest somewhere else later in life, and you're gonna have a problem on your hands.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like that in regards, because all behavior is learned.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, what do you feel about? I know you mentioned like coping mechanisms.
Sure.
What do you feel about self-medicating, like weed?
Like marijuana?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not against it. I feel like, if you use it responsibly, that's up to you. I will tell people, though, once it becomes something that you are addicted to, then that can be a problem. Some people self-medicate. They got glaucoma. Okay, well, it's helping.
Yeah.
Some people have anxiety. Well, it's helping.
Right.
But if it's becoming an addiction, something that I got to wake and bake on, it may be a problem at that point, and you may need to see a professional. But, to each his own. Everybody has a lifestyle that they choose to live. I'm not opposed to people smoking marijuana to self-medicate, but I also know there are other avenues that you can use to help you deal with whatever you're dealing with.
Yeah. Okay. And also, what about alcohol? Do you? Is alcohol in that same realm?
I don't really recommend alcohol. I don't.
I agree.
I think alcohol abuse is too easy to fall into. I think people aren't always aware of addictive patterns that they may have, addictive behaviors in their family, and especially because some families just don't talk. So you won't know that your grandpa was an alcoholic, and you find yourself drinking, bourbon, whiskey, whatever your choice is every time you go through something, and before you know it, you're an alcoholic. You functional, you moving around about, you drunk.
Yeah.
And so I don't recommend it, but if you like to have a glass of wine whenever you're stressed out, so be it. But
Yeah.
I don't recommend like hard liquor and
Okay. Okay. Like just socially.
social drinking is healthy. That's okay. You
Okay.
just out, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But once you start to find yourself, I'm drinking 4 drinks a day. It's hard liquor. I'm not using any chasers. Like it's just straight.
Yeah.
Now we might be having a problem.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might have a problem on our hands.
I just realized that I have anxiety, right?
Okay.
Can you give me some coping mechanisms? Because large crowds give me anxiety like crazy. Especially that's one of the reasons why I haven't been out to protest. Because that shit makes me because my wife asked me, she was like, something probably happened when you was a kid that makes you afraid
Feel
of
that
large
way.
crowds. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I would ask. I would ask, when did it start? When did you start fearing large crowds? Was it when you were a kid, in high school? What was it? When did that initially start?
So I know I noticed it when I went to college.
Okay.
When I went to college, I was because I'm from Los Angeles, right?
Okay.
And anytime there was like an event, a house party, like a bunch of kids, it was always something happening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so when I got to college, and then I realized when I was in the big crowds, I was like, oh shit, something about to happen. Something's about to go wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like when people start running in crowds. Like
Right.
that shit drives my
So
nerves
it sounds
crazy.
like you don't like to be in places that you can't control the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a form of PTSD.
Yeah.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, because you had experienced it in college, and so now you have a negative predisposition towards it as an adult. So it creates a form of anxiety, which is a form of fear. Yeah, and so your natural response to fear is either fight or flight.
Right.
And so you're like, I'm not finna go because flight gonna be the be the
Yes.
response.
Yes. And then especially my anxiety is even heightened if I got my family with me.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'm like,
anybody.
Man, there's no way in the world that I want to put my family in that situation. And then this is one thing that I was like, damn, I'm glad I didn't. I seen this on Instagram, right?
Okay.
It was the guy in Atlanta with his family, and they were in the back of the truck passing out waters to all the protesters. And the police started shooting tear gas at everybody in the street, and it got into little kids' eyes. And then all you see is a cut to another video where all the kids in the car crying. The guy is crying, the wife is crying, and I'm just like,
It's tough.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
and I start putting myself in that situation.
Exactly.
When I tell you I started sweating and I'm in my house just watching this.
Yeah.
I'm just like, ain't no way in the world. Like, nah, I can't. I'm gonna just protest right here from the house.
Because you already have a predisposition to be a protector.
Yes.
So to imagine your limitations on protecting your family by putting yourself in that situation definitely will give you anxiety, hands down.
Yeah, that's, man, that
Yeah.
just drives me crazy.
Exactly. But with anxiety, you have to learn how to manage it internally versus externally. You know, like, I don't know what you do when you're at home, like what your self-care looks like, but a lot of that plays into being anxious as well. Like preparing yourself for things.
Like, give me some tips about like some self-care things that I could do at home.
People, you can listen to music, you can go to bed earlier, you can take baths, you can sit outside, you can work out, you can run. Like, all of those are considered like self-care practices that you use to put your mind at ease. I teach my clients grounding techniques all the time. What to do in the moment if you're anxious, you find yourself about to go into a panic attack. What will you do in that moment? And so those are the kind of things that I teach my clients that have anxiety.
Okay. I used to meditate. Like,
Meditation is awesome.
I used to meditate, but I don't know why I got away from it. But I used to meditate, and what I used to try to practice doing is when I'm outside where it is large crowd, I used to try to just center myself and just meditate in that moment.
Yeah.
So I won't feel my heart start racing and start doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, a lot of times I'm not afforded where I can do that all the time.
No,
you know what I mean?
not. It's hard to escape sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so in that moment, I would say, okay, you need to have something that's going to ground you and keep you from having a heightened awareness in that moment. So I teach people to do 5 senses.
Five senses.
You tap into your 5 senses. So if I say, I want you to focus on a color, like in this room, I say, I want you to focus on a color. Tell me 5 things that are black. Tell me 5 things you see that are black. So, you're doing your 5 senses.
Okay.
And so we go all the way down until we get to taste. And I'm like, tell me 1 thing you taste. You see what I mean?
That's black.
Yeah. Tell me 4 things you can touch. Tell me 3 things you can hear. You see what I mean? And so it makes you present in your moment and not so heightened with where you are.
Yeah. And I know a lot of times when I get nervous, I make jokes. Like because when I get nervous or if a situation is too tense, I just start making jokes and people be like, Dante, you got to be serious. You got to start being
trying to lighten the mood.
Yeah, because I don't like it to be tense.
Yeah, you like it's too heavy.
Yeah. I like to be my natural or where I feel best is where I'm just loose, having fun,
right,
talking.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's when I feel the best,
most comfortable.
Yeah,
right.
but so let me ask you this: for somebody who is like within George Floyd's family, right? That's dealing with this.
Sure.
A death in their family. What are some coping mechanisms that they can use to deal with this?
I would say they're all going through some stage of grief. There are 5 stages to grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
So what did it say that again?
Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Yeah. Okay.
And so everybody, whenever you have some type of death or anything, you go through stages of grief. Some people maneuver through them quicker than others. So the family is all dealing with some stage of grief at this point. So the biggest thing I would say is to identify what stage of grief they're at first. I'd recommend probably going to a grief counselor. And if they're not open to counseling, one of the biggest things is surrounding yourself around family. There's nothing like having someone that you can talk to that's going through the same thing. It typically helps you process your emotions a lot better. Because isolation doesn't help grief. It only perpetuates depression. So I would tell them journal their emotions out, and some people have a hard time free journaling, just being like, man, today I feel like X, Y, and Z. Some people struggle with that.
Yeah.
So I always recommend a journal prompt called 52 Lists for Calm.
52 lists.
52 Lists for Calm. The author's last name is Morea, Morea.
Okay.
And so you can get it on Target, Amazon. It's like $10. But it's really good. It's like 52 lists literally, and you can write it, And you can do it by weeks if you want, write one list a week. And it gives you an activity to do with it.
Yeah.
But it holds you accountable. You know, I think that's the big thing when you're going through grief too, is have accountability as you go through grief. But that's what I would recommend to the family. I know that times like this are hard too with COVID and the pandemic, because it's like only a few people could go to the funeral.
Right.
You know, so that in itself is very stressful.
Yeah. See, that's crazy, because I know when I'm feeling down or I'm feeling depressed about something, like I isolate myself just so I could deal with my emotions, because I hate putting my emotions on other people.
Yeah.
So I try to distance myself, and people be like, "Where Dante?" I'm in my own corner. Let me deal with my emotions. And once I get myself back to normal, or I feel where I'm comfortable, then I'm ready to come back out and talk and have fun again. But I've been blessed in a sense where I haven't had to deal with somebody directly close to me dying, you know what I mean? Besides my grandmother, and we kind of
expected it over time. Yeah, absolutely.
But I haven't dealt with it, but I know people who have, and it's like I don't know what to say in the moment or what to do when somebody else is grieving that I love, you know what I mean?
I think the worst thing somebody can say is, they would want you to do X, Y, and Z in the moment. And I say that because when a person is grieving, they don't want to hear what they could or should do. They just want to hear condolences, sympathy, or empathy.
Okay.
And let's say we both lost our grandmother. In that moment, I'm going to say, man, I'm so sorry. I know exactly what that feels like. I'm here if you need anything,
Okay.
And that's it. But I'm not going to say, I'm sorry, man. I know what that feels like. I remember when my grandma died, we did da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, I don't want to hear that. I don't care about your grandma. Like, I ain't trying to be funny, but you know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't, period.
Because you only bringing me back the memories. Yeah.
Yeah, I ain't trying to go there right now. Thank you. I appreciate you. Bye. Kind of thing. So I think people just need to learn how to have sympathy and just be very short with it. Let me know how I can help you. I'm here if you need me. Praying for you and the family. Let us know what we can do. Very simple. What's your address?
Yeah.
People you really rocking with, what's your address?
Yeah.
I'm finna send you something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or when you're ready, let me know. I'm here for you. Very short, very simple, very to the point, because people don't want to, you grieving. I'm not trying to go into detail with you right now.
Right.
When I am, I'll reach out to you and I'll do that.
So you shouldn't try to force yourself on them and try to just be like, look, I got you. We need to go out. We need to.
It's just not healthy, because people grieve in different ways. Like I told you about the stages.
Yeah.
If I'm angry, I'm really not trying to go out with you right now, because I'm liable to go off on you too. You know what I mean? And use you as a catalyst for my aggression. And that's not fair. Now, depending on the person, their friends know them. They know how they operate. So you have those people that can say, let's get out the house, let's go. And they be like, ooh, I'm glad you got me out the house. Thank you.
Yeah.
But again, that's person-based. But to a complete stranger like George Floyd's family, we're not going to be like, let's go, let's get out the house. Like, they need to get out the house. They need to go somewhere. They need to go to brunch.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's not what we're going to say for them.
I'm thinking about it because one of my homeboys, his dad passed, and some of his homeboys was like, nigga, come on, we going to the strip club. They at the strip club.
Typical black stuff.
And they told the stripper, like, yeah, my homeboy, his dad passed. And she danced him like, yeah, I heard about your daddy. This ain't what he need, but this is what he need.
This is what he need. Listen. And they meant that. They was really trying to be of a help. They probably paid for that lap dance and everything too. Bro, we got you. Pull up. We got you.
Exactly. Yeah. So what got you into this field? What made you want to pursue this?
To be honest, I dealt with my family's own issues, of substance abuse, and my mother and my father and my grandparents raised me. Praise God, they're in much better places now. But early on in my life, that's how I grew up. And so very early, I had an idea that was like, I'm not smoking, I'm not drinking, I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that. And it was like, and when I get old enough, I'm going to be a therapist, because I want to know how people think. I want to know why this is a thing, why they did that kind of thing. And so that's really what got me into initially. But then I was a coach for 8 years. I coached volleyball and soccer. And my students would come to me with all their problems. and be like, Coach, you should be a therapist. No lie. Coach, you should be a therapist. And I'm like, and this was 2013. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So same year, I went back to school and got my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
And they all came to my graduation.
Really? All your whole
team.
Wow, that's dope.
Yep.
See, I feel like I could be a therapist too, only because I'm nosy. You know what I mean? Yeah. Only because I'm nosy. Because I be wanting to like, yo, man, I know, yeah, I can help you out with that. You know what I mean? But I'm nosy. I'm nosy. That's the only reason why.
See, but the question is, what you do with that nosy information?
Nothing. I just take it with me. I just hold on to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you possibly could be a therapist.
Yeah,
because therapists have to be inquisitive.
Yeah, and I would hate for somebody to tell my business. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
definitely not going to go
real.
out tell nobody else's
Yeah.
business. But I know I ain't gonna. I'm about to tell
somebody business.
I was about to say something. I was like,
No confidentiality.
Yeah.
See, you can't be no therapist. Give it up. Give it
like,
up.
never mind.
God, that's funny.
All right. Now, this is something like I always wonder about, and I don't know if you can even speak to it. Like, what state of mind does somebody have to be in that's suicidal? Because for me, like, I love me. You know what I mean? And I'll be wondering, like where does somebody's mind go where they just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm ending it.
Yeah.
And I'd be wondering, like, is it that bad? Because I've had bad days, you know what I mean, where I'd be like, man, fuck it.
Yeah.
But I never go to the point where I want to kill
You
myself.
want to take your life.
Yeah, it's more just like, you know what, I just need to take a nap. When I wake up, when I take a nap, everything will be back
Boy,
good.
that's the common black thing. Go lay down.
Yeah.
Go lay down. You feel better when you get up.
So I'd be wondering, like, what does somebody's mind be when they become suicidal?
So the coin term in my profession is suicidal ideation.
Okay.
Those are the thoughts that perpetuate suicide. And so a lot of those thoughts come from a depressive state. Some of those thoughts could be low self-esteem, very low self-worth, isolation, feeling alone, feeling depleted, feeling like you can't make a difference in the world or impact people, feeling like you don't have anybody. These kind of feelings, feeling like the pain is unbearable, whatever you're dealing with, that you can't manage it, that you can't get on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people who have suicidal ideation typically have that kind of thought process. And so it's self-defeating, the thought process is. So someone with low self-worth, they may feel that they don't add value to anybody's life. So why not take theirs? Because they don't have any purpose for being here.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what we do when I worked in the schools, we'll get what's called a Columbia suicide rating scale. And, we would go through the scale, ask the questions, and at the end it would, you could calculate it and determine if they were like moderate, severe, pretty much low. And you could tell based on the questions, have you ever thought about committing suicide? Do you have an active plan? Now that term active plan is what separates someone who's suicidal from suicidal ideation. So if you're suicidal, you typically have an active plan and you know what you're finna do and you know how you want to do it.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, suicidal ideation is I just have them thoughts every now and again of how I'm just depressed and I'm low and I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's a crazy place to be mentally.
Absolutely, it's a rough place to be.
What could somebody do who's feeling like that? What are some things that they can do? Some different things besides, like we already talked about.
Yeah.
What are some things that can pull them out of that?
Groups typically, people can go to what's called an IOP program. They can go to inpatient, outpatient programs, residential treatment programs. Those are kind of programs people go when they're suicidal, because they typically will take you to like a behavioral health hospital.
Okay.
And from there you'll stay however long they feel like you need to stay, but you then get a team of people. You get your psychiatrists, psychologists, your LPCs, you get a team of people that's going to help you. And then they put you in groups. And then they say, okay, let's move through these emotions. And then you may like graduate out essentially. Like, let's say you've been there a week. Now they say, okay, go home, but we're going to send you to an outpatient program, and you may go to that 3 times a week. It's just a group of people. So typically when you're suicidal, that's like in my office, if I got a suicidal client, I'm saying, okay, you have an active plan? Yes. All right, well, we're done here. Let's get you over to a behavioral health hospital. Because it's a liability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does your, and I know this is kind of going to another, does your birthday or when you was born have anything to do with like your mental state, or is that like a kind of like a myth?
So I don't really think it does. I mean, a lot of people are into zodiacs, right? A lot of people are into their sign. I'm a Sagittarius.
Okay.
I feel like I'm true to my sign.
Okay.
You know, we can be very rude. Sometimes we can be sarcastic, but we have very big hearts. And once we love you, we ride for you. That's just the kind of people we are. And I feel like I'm true to that. But I don't feel like that necessarily affects my mental state, right? I don't feel like it affects the decisions that I make. I feel like my life experience drives those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't really feel like birthdays, you know, people be like, oh, solar around the moon again, the solar eclipse, maybe this, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, you wanted to do that. You just picked that time to do that. Stop playing.
Yeah.
So
Is depression is it what is it called? Where you, I forgot the word, where you pass it down
generational?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hereditary.
Okay.
Depression can be hereditary. Anxiety can be hereditary. Yeah, you can pass them down the line. You sure can.
Really?
And you'd be surprised. I have clients come in all the time. Yeah, my mom had anxiety and my grandmother had anxiety. But what it is the behaviors that are perpetuated. They model this. They see this. They see that my grandmother's anxious. They see that my mother's anxious. They see that mom worries a lot. So then as you get older, you take on those same behaviors. I'm a worry wart. I worry a lot. I'm anxious. You know what I mean? And so... Yeah.
And is it passed down through the mother more or through the father more, or it just depends?
You know, I've seen more so the mother as opposed to the father. But again, fathers go undiagnosed and undetected all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I need to tell my wife then, because she's not a worry. She's not a worrier. She's not a worrier, but it's some things I'd be like, hey, don't do that.
Listen, wife, I had nothing to do with that. This is my disclaimer.
Don't do that around the baby. I was just
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
you know, that's the interesting thing you say that, because they say when the baby's in the womb, you have to be careful about the emotions that you carry. Because when the baby comes out, they will have those same emotions. And I fully agree with that. Yeah, my daughter's very chill.
Really? And you were chill throughout your whole
I had
pregnancy?
a pretty chill pregnancy. I did. I didn't have a hard pregnancy at all. It was very chill. She came out a very chill baby, very happy baby. But I know some people stressed, depressed, baby come out very colicky, very crying all the time, angry, upset. Like they channel the emotions.
Wow. Okay. And there's nothing else that women can do to kind of like not give it to the baby, or just make sure she's happy, or even if the mom does have those kind of feelings or whatever, if there's nothing you can do to the baby to kind of, I guess, take those anxieties away from her, or take that depression.
No, I think more so it'll be on the mom. It'll be on the mom to have some good healthy self-care practices. You know, like I said, baths and different things like that. Maybe yoga, mindfulness, meditation, things like that tap in with you and the baby and make you become one. Like, I remember when I was pregnant, I would take a lot of baths before I couldn't take baths. And then I would just rub my stomach and talk to her. You know, and be very intentional about it. I love you. You know, and so I think some of those practices create a safer space mentally for the mother and the baby. You know, and that's not the case for some people. They grow up in very tumultuous environments. Yeah. But, you know, just trying to manage it, I think, is the biggest thing.
Okay. And I seen something on Instagram too, where it was saying that black men are walking around being feared, right, by other white people.
Sure.
But also black men are walking around in fear of those same white people. You know what I mean?
Fear of them, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, what does that do to somebody's psyche, where on one hand, they scared of you, but on the other hand, you scared of them, and I feel like that creates just a dangerous environment. It's like almost lighter fluid and a little light, you know what I mean, a little fire that once they collide, it's gonna spark a big old fire. And it's like I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to do or what to say to my son, you know what I mean? That I know that he is going to experience some of this.
Sure.
And I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm going to be able to do, how I'm going to handle it. Because as a parent, I'm going to be upset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But me experiencing on my own, the only thing I'm going to do is tell him what I would do. Right. And to me, I'm at the point where racism don't even affect me no more. Because I've seen it, and if you give that power to other people, then they take advantage of that.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? But at the same time, I don't want to turn a blind eye to it. But it don't affect me the same way, and it's mentally I'm just like going through my head about, okay, what could I tell him? What am I gonna say to my son when he comes and say, hey, he was picked on because of this, or he felt like he was discriminated against because of something. And it's like, I don't know how to process that. And I know I have a bad, I don't process my emotions properly, you know what I mean, or all the way. Sometimes I just be like, yeah, fuck it, don't even worry about it.
Right.
But I don't want my son to do that, you know what I mean? I want him to be able to like, okay, tell me what's going on.
Talk through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me what's going on. Tell me how you feeling.
Honestly, I recommend that you start off with explaining what fear looks like.
I don't believe in fear.
But you need to educate yourself on fear. It doesn't matter what you believe in. You're trying to teach the next generation. And so if you go off of everything that you've learned, he'll never learn anything.
Okay.
So you have to teach yourself so that you can teach the next generation. So you teach yourself what fear looks like. And you ask him, what does he fear? Does he have any fears? Is he afraid of anything? You see what I mean? And then you teach him what anxiety looks like. Because this is the thing. He needs to know what those things look like when he sees it, so that he can be aware and have a one-up on everything that's going on. If you teach him what anxiety looks like, if you teach him what fear and fight or flight look like, when he sees it, he can choose to respond a different way than most people would respond. Like for you, I don't believe in fear. That's the most black man term. I hear it all the time. I don't believe in fear. But it's like, you fear something. You just said it. Because you were like, well, we living in fear of like what the white people do to us, the cops, and then they living in fear of what we'll do to them. Essentially, there's a fear there. There's some anxiety there. And there's 30 hormones being triggered when that happens, and 1,400 chemical responses that are happening when fear strikes.
So I'd be afraid that I'm just gonna be perpetuating or just transferring that fear over to him.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of tell him like, there's no such thing as fear.
Yeah, you don't teach him that there's no such thing as fear. You teach him how to manage and deal with fear. If there is a fear, why is that a fear for you, son? And you talk through it and you work through why that's a fear for him. Because what you don't fear, he may fear.
Okay.
But why? Why is that a fear? And then you talk about why that shouldn't be a fear or etc. But you never just leave stuff as a bold statement. You shouldn't fear nothing. And then he go out, I don't fear nothing. And then he get in a whole bunch of trouble.
Right.
Because he's been taught not to fear anything. When technically you should be able to gauge a situation and determine if it could potentially be fearful. Not living in fear. Gauge a situation and determine if it could possibly be fearful. It's a difference.
Yeah.
But it's all about educating yourself to educate the next generation. Not being so stuck in your ways and your own patterns that you can't teach your son. Because, the whole big thing now is white people teach your kids, right?
Right.
But we need to teach our kids, too.
Right.
Not just them.
I feel like with black people, that's just automatic. You, like, from time they able to start mingling with other kids, hey, you can't do that. Yeah, that's not, no, you can't.
You say that, but that's not happening for everybody.
No?
Some people are moving their families to predominantly white neighborhoods. And they are going to predominantly white schools.
Yeah.
And they are teaching them to act a predominantly white way. And so when they come out, they've got all these white friends, but then stuff like this happens, and they're struggling because they don't really have any black friends to connect with to be able to talk about it. So they put them in Jack and Jill pageants trying to make up for hood classics that they should have learned.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's a real thing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh shit! I got suppress my emotions. I just want to talk to you because I feel like you like shed some light on some things that I'm just like, dang, I never looked at it like that. You know what I mean? Like I never thought about, but I feel like it's all up here mentally that I need to control. And like I said, my dad wasn't there, so everything that I had to figure out, I had to figure out on my own. And it's like, to me, my son got a leg up because he got somebody that is telling him like, "Yay, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're not supposed to do."
Right.
Where
how do you teach what you don't know?
YouTube.
Right.
YouTube.
But at what point is YouTube not good enough?
When is YouTube not good enough? I think YouTube isn't good enough when it comes to really dealing with emotions. When it really comes to like how, like you said, to talking through him about fear. You know what I mean? Because YouTube, there's thousands of videos on there. There's nothing on there about fear or, how to judge a situation or what you should do in a situation. There's self-defense stuff on there.
Right.
But emotionally, there's no, at least I never looked it up. Let me say that.
Yeah, you've never looked it up because it's there.
Yeah.
You know, who's really good about discussing like things that overcome a fear mindset? Eric Thomas.
You
familiar with Eric Thomas?
Yeah, the hip hop. Yeah.
He his message is really surrounded around like that's not what we're gonna do. Like we're gonna rise above that. And he talks about when you want something as bad as you want to breathe kind of concept.
Yeah.
Like I feel like things like that are the things that you want to send down the pipeline to your son. It's like you gotta grind it out, but like it can really happen for you.
Yeah.
But you also can't come in like I'm the master of my fate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying he was extremely intelligent. Mm-hmm. But he was intelligent because he read a lot of books.
Yeah.
And he had some real life experiences that made him intelligent. Nip was all about his community.
Yeah.
Buying black.
Yeah.
Like buying up the block, literally giving people the tools to be successful. He was like, we need to raise this generation not to be the rappers and all that. Like they need to be engineers, doctors, lawyers. And so those are the things that you want to steal into the next generation.
Yeah.
He got one book called Spooked by the Door.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
And I read a little bit of the book. It was dope.
Yeah, dope.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, so how to win people. Like all these different books, like these are the kind of stuff that you have to read and send down a pipeline though. Cause your son not gonna read that.
Right.
But when you educate yourself, you give him that's the real one up. That's the real I didn't have my dad, so I'm going to be different. So you breaking generational curses when you do that.
Yeah. And I know I suffer, and ever since, honestly, until Charlamagne the God, ever since he been talking about mental health, I've been like doing like little checks on like, how do I feel about that?
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? And I know I suffer from not feeling worthy or not feeling good enough to be able to do certain things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I rid myself of that feeling where I'm feeling like, like I should be on a bigger platform. You know what I mean? I should be able to do this and do that. But once I tap into it, I'll be like, yes. And then I get all the way to the edge and I'll be like, oh shit.
And we call it imposter syndrome. A lot of times, like, we get to where we want to be. We do everything we got to do to get there. And then we don't feel like we're good enough and we shouldn't be there. Imposter syndrome. And so it's like you got all the talent, you got all the ability to be better than whatever, right? Your platform should be huge, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a belief. You believe in your brand. You believe in Tap In Podcast.
Yeah.
Right? So you get that far with it, but then it's like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I should really be like, is this really happening? Like, to me, like, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And so, in a case like that, we use what's called cognitive restructuring. So we're trying to get you to think differently about you and about your circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always, I tell myself now, once I get to that point, I know that's where fear is.
Yeah.
That I'm going to just take the next step. And whatever happens from there, then just let it happen. And it's just me trying to get rid of certain things. Certain things in my mind. Yeah. Where I'm just like, you know what? I know this is, I'm afraid of it. Because I know a lot of my friends do comedy, right?
Right.
And me and my homeboys, we had a conversation about, like, are you afraid to be successful? You know what I mean? Successful it's a lot of responsibility when you become successful. Are you afraid to be successful? And at the time he was like, nah, we ain't, like, being successful, that's what everybody want to do.
Right.
But once you actually get there, and now it's like,
it's real.
You got to perform. You got to, the pressure's on.
It's on.
Yeah, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
I didn't know this is what it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but and I'm glad you said that, because everybody want to be an entrepreneur, but everybody ain't got what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
True that.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Everybody want to own their own business. Like that's a whole new millennial thing. It's like, I own my own business. I'm out here getting money. And it's like, but what are you doing with the money?
Right.
And it's like, and I tell people, always know your why behind what it is that you want to do. When you ask me why I do what I do, it's rattling off, and I can tell you all my next plans for the next 5 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like a lot of people want what you have, but they're not willing to put the work in to get what you got. And so that imposter syndrome comes in when you really put that work in, and then you wonder if you're deserving of it.
Yeah. And you said it's called cognitive
restructuring. Yeah, because you got to change the way you think. You can use a lot of positive psychology to help with that. Sticky notes, I'm the best, I got this. People do that all the time. But whatever motivates you to become the best version of yourself, that's what you got to do to believe it.
Okay. All right. Now, where can people find you again, Helena?
They can find me at _LPC therapist. _LPC therapist on Instagram. My business page is at Better You, BETTER Counseling LLC.
Okay.
On Instagram as well. And my website is www.bycounseling.com.
Okay. And you do family counseling as well?
I do family counseling, but I focus on individual counseling.
Okay.
And I see ages from 16 to 65.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got a pretty broad range.
Okay. So no marriage counseling?
I typically don't do marriage counseling.
Okay.
Typically that, or I'll refer it out to a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Okay.
And I like to stick with my scope of more anxiety, depression, those kind of things. But I do have a book, and they can get that on Amazon. The book is called Confidence is Key with the K.
On Amazon?
It's on
Amazon. I'm about to order that right
now. Confidence is Key, and it's a 21-day devotional. And it's focused just kind of on the mental health of going through problems and oppression and different things like that.
Let me see. I'm about to order this shit.
Yeah,
right
it start
now.
with a K. Confidence is key.
Confidence is key.
Confidence is key.
Because this whole
on Amazon.
It was yesterday was our Juneteenth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I seen everybody buying black books.
Oh yeah.
So I want to.
And they've been buying black a lot.
Yeah. What is it called again?
Confidence is key. With a K. KONFIDENCE.
Okay. Confidence is key.
You see it pop up on Amazon. It's $16.99.
Hold on.
It should be right when you pop up. Confidence, KONFIDENCE is
showing me a bunch of necklaces. Did I do this right? They showed me a bunch of necklaces on there.
It's probably where you at in Amazon.
Yeah, because I need to give me some more books, man.
You spelled confidence is wrong.
I did. That's why I got that.
It's okay.
That's why I got what is it called on there?
That's why this should be the first thing that pop up.
Oh, bad.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm buying this.
I appreciate you.
Yes,
Buy
ma'am.
black, support black. Thank you.
And they said I should get this tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. Get that. It's a pretty good devotional, I will say. I wrote that at a rough time in life.
Did you? What was happening?
It dropped April 2018. I just went through a bad situation with another person, and things with my body, a miscarriage, a lot of different stuff going on at that time. And God was like, I went dark. And God was like, just write.
Really?
And so I wrote for 30 days, and I came up with that.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. All right, I should be getting that tomorrow then.
Okay.
Cool.
And let me know. Give me some feedback. Let me know how you like it. Yes,
I will.
please,
Definitely.
please.
Yo, go get The Confidence is Key on Amazon. This is a Black author / therapist / I feel like you somebody like I need in my Rolodex. Like,
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Keep me on speed dial.
Yeah, if I just need to call, be like, look, this is what I'm going through. How do I deal with this? And yeah. How do I run through this real quick?
I got you.
So real quick, before I want to make sure people get this. Leave your social again. I mean, not your social. Your social media. Leave your social media stuff on there again.
My social media is _LPC therapist. That is Instagram _LPC therapist. And you can reach me on my business page at Better You Counseling LLC.
That's right. Yo, I appreciate y'all for tapping in. This has been the Tap In Podcast. Make sure you go and check on your mental health right now, especially at a time like this when everything is going haywire in the world.
Yes.
Just tap in and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Yo, this is the Tap In Podcast.
Peace.
Holla.